Hello students, in the earlier videos we have tried to get a very clear cut idea about what simple harmonic motion is and what are the different terms that are involved to describe the simple harmonic motion. We tried to derive the differential equation for simple harmonic motion, and from the differential equation of SHM we tried to get the equation for displacement, velocity and acceleration. Now also we discussed about the graphical presentation of the particle performing simple harmonic motion starting from mean position and also starting from extreme position. Now in today's video we are going to discuss about the composition of SHM having same period and travelling along the same path. Now to discuss this, what we are going to consider, let us consider a particle which is subjected simultaneously to two simple harmonic motions having the same period and travelling along the same path in the positive x direction. Okay, but even though the travelling direction remains same, remember that the particle must be having different amplitude and the initial phases. Now when you have to talk about the resultant displacement at any instant, then the resultant displacement will be equal to the vector sum of its displacement due to both the SHMs at that particular instant, and this goes in accordance with the principle of superposition of wave. Now let us try to write the equations for the displacements of the two SHMs along the same straight line, that is along the x axis. Let us say the first equation as x1 is equal to a1 sin omega t plus alpha 1 and the other equation as x2 is equal to a2 sin omega t plus alpha 2. Remember here a1 and a2 are the amplitudes and x1 and x2 are the displacements. Now when we have to talk about the resultant displacement at any instant, as we said, the resultant displacement will be calculated as per the superposition rule. So it is given by x is equal to x1 plus x2. So substitute the values of x1 and x2 from the above equation. We get x is equal to a1 sin omega t plus alpha 1 plus a2 sin omega t plus alpha 2. Now this particular equation we have to solve it by using the trigonometric relations or trigonometric formulas. Now when we apply the simple trigonometric rules to solve this particular equation, we get x is equal to a1 sin omega t cos alpha 1 plus a1 cos omega t sin alpha 1. Similarly for this term, second term, we get a2 sin omega t cos alpha 2 plus a2 cos omega t sin alpha 2. Now here a1, a2 and phi 1 and phi 2, these are the constants and omega t is a variable factor. So let us collect all the constants together, that is let us try to rearrange the terms and combining them in one particular bracket. We get x is equal to a1 cos phi 1 plus a2 cos phi 2 into sin omega t plus a1 sin phi 1 plus a2 sin phi 2. When you complete the bracket, outside the bracket it will be cos omega t. Okay. Now here if you a1 and a2 and phi 1 and phi 2 are constant, and when we combine them in terms of another convenient constant as r and delta, then the earlier equation can be written as r cos delta is equal to a1 cos phi 1 plus a2 cos phi 2 and r sin alpha as a1 sine phi 1 plus a2 sine phi 2. So if we substitute these assumptions in terms of r and delta in the equation for the resultant displacement x, you get x is equal to r into bracket sine omega t cos delta plus cos omega t sine delta. Now here also, by using this simple trigonometric relation, you get x is equal to r sine omega t plus delta. Okay. So this equation x is equal to r sine omega t plus delta is the equation of an SHM of the same angular frequency. When you say same angular frequency, it means the same time period, but the amplitude is r and the initial phase of the SHM will be delta. Okay, this shows that the combination, that is superposition of two linear SHMs having same period and traveling along the same path is also an SHM. Now if you have to find out the resultant amplitude of the resultant of the SHM, which is resultant of two different SHMs, then resultant amplitude will be given by r is equal to square root of r sine square r sine delta square plus r cos delta bracket square. Now this goes in accordance with the law of parallelogram of the vector, which you have studied it in 11th standard. So the resultant amplitude is given by square root of r sine delta bracket square plus r cos delta bracket square. Now if you substitute the values of r sine delta and r cos delta from the earlier equations and try to find out the resultant amplitude, you get r square. Here if I take out the square root, squaring on both sides, then I get r square is equal to a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cos of phi minus phi 2. So if I want to have the resultant amplitude, it will be r is equal to under root a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cosine of phi 1 minus phi 2. Okay. Now here the initial phase delta of the resultant motion, if you have to find out that is if you have to find out the initial value of the initial phase, then you have to divide the equations, that is r sine delta upon r cos delta is equal to a1 sine phi 1 plus a2 sine phi 2 divided by a1 cos phi 1 plus a2 cos phi 2. Now this r from numerator and r from denominator, here it gets cancelled, and sine delta upon cos delta, sine theta upon cos theta, that is again using the trigonometric relation, it is sine upon cos is tan. So tan delta is equal to a1 sine phi 1 plus a2 sine phi 2 divided by a1 cos phi 1 plus a2 cos phi 2. Now we need to find out the value of initial phase, and phase in case of SHM is denoted by letter or symbol delta. So the value of delta will be tan inverse of this whole term. So it will be delta is equal to tan inverse of a1 sine phi 1 plus a2 sine phi 2 divided by a1 cos phi 1 plus a2 cos phi 2. So this particular equation gives us, or it helps us to determine the value of initial phase of SHM. Now this particular equation, that is to find out the value of initial phase and also to find out the value of resultant amplitude, the process of finding out these two terms that we have used over here is what you have studied in 11th standard when you were doing the chapter of vectors. Now here let us try to discuss about some special cases, and let us see what these special cases are one by one. Now, if you assume that the two SHMs are in phase, now what is the meaning of in phase? That is, phase difference between these two is 0. That means phi 1 minus phi 2, the difference between the two phases is 0. In that particular case, the value of cosine of phi 1 minus phi 2, that is cos 0, is 1. So if you substitute that in the equation of resultant amplitude, the resultant amplitude was what? Under root a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2 cosine of phi 1 minus phi 2. That was our earlier equation. So if we substitute this phi 1 minus phi 2 equal to 0 in that, then cos of phi 1 minus phi 2, which is 1. So you get this equation as r is equal to under root a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2. Now if you look at the term over here, you get r square is equal to a1 square plus a2 square plus 2a1 a2. If you look at this particular term, it is as good as the expansion of a1 plus a2 whole bracket square as per the basic identities that we have studied in 9th standard algebra. So we get value of r as a1 plus a2, and this plus minus sign is an indication whether you are going in the positive or negative direction. Now similarly, if you substitute or if you assume that the amplitude is same, that is if value of a1 and a2, they are similar or they are same, that is a1 and a2 is equal to a, then when you have to talk about r, it will be a1 plus a2, that is a plus a. So you get this value as 2a. So resultant amplitude in that particular case, provided the amplitudes are same and the phase difference between them is 0, the resultant amplitude will be equal to 2a. Now the second case is if you are going to assume that the SHMs are out of phase. Out of phase is what? If the two SHMs angle, the difference between the two, that is 90 degree, then cosine of 90 is what? Cos 90 is 0. So if we substitute this value in the equation for resultant amplitude, this whole term 2a1 a2 cos of phi 1 minus phi 2, that gets 0. So the resultant r will be equal to under root a1 square plus a2 square. And if we assume that the amplitudes are same, so a1 equal to a2 equal to a, here we get r, that resultant amplitude is equal to square root of, that is under root 2 into a. Okay. Now in the third case, we are assuming that the two SHMs are 180 degree out of phase. So when 180 degree out of phase means what? Phi 1 minus phi 2 180 degree, cos of 180 is what? It's minus 1. So when you substitute that value over here, the resultant amplitude will be equal to a is equal to under root a1 square plus a2 square minus 2a1 a2. And as per the identity, this whole term is nothing but a or a1 minus a2 bracket square. So the resultant r will be mod of a1 minus a2. When I use the absolute sign or mod sign, the value is always positive. And here in this case, if we assume that the amplitudes are same, that is if a1 is equal to a2, then the resultant amplitude will be 0. So from these three special cases which we discussed, that is if the phase difference is 0, if phase difference is 90 and if phase difference is 180 degree, then we can clearly conclude that the amplitude, resultant amplitude will be maximum if they are in phase, and it will be minimum when they are out of phase by 180 degree. Okay. After finishing this particular concept, that is after completing the composition of two SHMs, the next concept that we are going to do or we are going to talk about is energy of a particle performing simple harmonic motion. Okay. Now here, when we talk of a particle performing SHM, we are very sure that the particle possesses speed. That is, if a particle is going to have some speed, it is going to have kinetic energy at all positions except at one particular position, and that position is the extreme position. Why? Because what happens when the particles start performing a motion from mean position, when it goes to extreme, momentarily it comes to rest and then it tries to traces the reverse path. So we say that at extreme position the velocity of the particle is 0, and if there is no velocity, we will say that there is no kinetic energy. Now, in spite of the presence of restoring force, the restoring force is absent except at mean position. The particle, it will be occupying or it will be showing the various positions. Now, this is when you say the particle is performing the motion, then it's an indication that throughout the motion work is done and the system has potential energy. So we can say that when a particle performs simple harmonic motion, the particle possesses both kinetic as well as potential energy. Okay. So when you talk about the total energy of the particle performing simple harmonic motion, the total energy is nothing but the sum of potential and kinetic energy. So when we have to talk about or when we have to derive the expression for energy possessed by a particle, first we should know what will be the kinetic energy possessed by the particle and what will be the potential energy possessed by the particle. And once we have the values of kinetic and potential energies, addition of these two will give us the total energy possessed by the particle. Now first let us try to talk about the kinetic energy, and then we will try to derive the expression for potential energy. Now as we said that when the particle is performing motion, the particle has some speed, and when we say that whenever a particle is having some motion or it is showing some motion, then energy possessed because of virtue of motion is nothing but the kinetic energy. So when we have to talk about the expression for kinetic energy, we have to consider the expression or equation which shows us the velocity of the particle, and we have already derived the equation that velocity of a particle in simple harmonic motion is given by v is equal to omega under root a square minus x square, where a is the amplitude and x is the displacement. So here we can say that the symbols carry their usual meaning. So this is nothing but the expression for the velocity of a particle. Now we know that when we talk about the kinetic energy of this system, then kinetic energy is nothing but 1/2 mv square. That is the expression for kinetic energy. Now let us substitute the value of v from this equation. So we get kinetic energy which is denoted with Ek, and that Ek is nothing but 1/2 m. Instead of v, we will have to substitute the value of v here. So it comes out to be 1/2 m omega square into bracket a square minus x square. Why? Because when you square this square root sign will remain no more. So kinetic energy of a particle will be given by 1/2 m omega square into bracket a square minus x square. Now when we had started the discussion of the chapter, we discussed that m omega square is nothing but k. So when you substitute the value of m omega square as k, we can write the kinetic energy as 1/2 k into bracket a square minus x square. Okay, so this is the expression for kinetic energy. Now similarly here, when you are going to talk about the restoring force acting on the particle, now if you look at this particular diagram, if you say that the particle is at mean position O, and now it is given some particular force so that it will move to position P, then the restoring force acting on the particle at point P will be given by F is equal to, restoring force is always equal to F is equal to minus kx, where k is the force constant. Now here if you suppose that the particle is further displaced by an very small displacement, which we can call it as infinitesimal displacement dx against the restoring force, then in that particular case the external work has to be done on the particle during this particular displacement, and this external work which is done on the particle is given by dw. And if you want to calculate the external work, then work is nothing but force into displacement. So this dw will be equal to F into minus dx. Why minus? Because it is against the restoring force. Okay, so what is the value of restoring force? Restoring force is minus kx. So here we can have dw is equal to minus kx into bracket minus dx. So minus minus turns out to be plus. So we have dw is equal to kx dx. Okay, now this is the work done for a very small displacement. If you have to talk about the total work done on the particle, if the particle has to move from initial position O to P, then total work done will be obtained by integrating the above equation. So when you integrate dw from 0 displacement to x, from 0 to x, then integration of dw will be equal to w. And if you substitute the value of dw within the integration limits or within the integration sign, then integration of 0 to x kx dx. Okay, now here this k is a constant, so it will come out of the integration sign, and what remains inside the integration sign will be x into dx. So as per the rules of integration, integration of x dx is nothing but x square upon 2. So value of w comes out to be 1/2 kx square. Is that clear? Okay, now this work done is stored as a potential energy of the particle. So this work done is nothing but EP, that is potential energy, and hence we say that potential energy is equal to 1/2 kx square. If you substitute the value of k, you can write the potential energy in terms of the value of k, that is potential energy is equal to 1/2 m omega square into x square. Now as we said, or as we discussed, that the particle performing SHM is going to have both kinetic as well as potential energy. So when you have to talk about total energy of the particle, then the total energy of the particle is sum of its kinetic as well as potential energy. So when you talk about total energy E, as we discussed, it is sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. So value of kinetic energy, we are aware kinetic energy is 1/2 m omega square into bracket a square minus x square plus Potential energy is what? Potential energy is 1 half m omega square into x square. If you solve this particular equation, 1 half m omega square x square from this side and 1 half m omega square x square, here you have negative sign and here you have positive sign, so that will get cancelled, and what will remain is energy of a particle will be given by 1 half m omega square into a square. So this is the expression for the total energy of the particle at point P. Okay, here you have to remember that m, omega and a, these are the constants. Then the total energy of the particle at any particular point P, if it is constant, if when it will be constant, if omega x and m, omega a and m, all these are going to be constant, then in that particular case the energy is also constant. That means this energy is independent of the displacement and independent of the time. In other terms, we can say that the energy of a particle performing SHM is always conserved. Also, if you try to think in the other way, that is when the particle is at extreme position, right, when the particle is at extreme position, momentarily its velocity is 0, so particle is going to have no kinetic energy, it will have only potential energy. And then at extreme position, when we are saying that it is going to have only potential energy, the total energy of the particle will be 1 half m omega square a square. And when you talk about the particle starting from mean position, the particle is going to have only kinetic energy and no potential energy. And then at mean position, displacement is 0, so then also you are going to get the same expression for energy, which is 1 half m omega square a square. So even if you consider the position of a particle, that is at extreme position and at mean position, then also you are going to get the same expression for energy of a particle, which is 1 half m omega square a square. And hence we conclude that energy of a particle performing SHM or energy is conserved in case of SHM. Now similarly, if you want to write the expression for energy in terms of frequency, if you consider n as the frequency of a particle performing SHM, then omega, that is angular velocity, will be given by 2 pi n. Okay, so here this expression E is equal to 1 half m omega square a square, we can write it as E is equal to 1 half m into 2 pi small n bracket square into a square. So we get energy is equal to 2 pi square n square a square into m. So when you write the equation in that form, you can say that, or you can conclude that the total energy of a particle performing simple harmonic motion, it is directly proportional to the mass of the particle. It will be directly proportional to square of the amplitude, square of the frequency, okay, then it will be inversely proportional to the square of the period. Okay, so these are what the concluding factors that we discussed. Okay, so here let us try to get the graphical presentation of the total energy. Now to discuss the graphical presentation, let us go back to the special cases that we have discussed, that when the particle is at mean position, x is equal to 0 and its velocity is maximum because it has to start its motion. In that particular case, your energy will be only kinetic energy and potential energy will be 0. And when you talk about the extreme position, then at extreme position the velocity of the particle, it momentarily comes out to be 0, and the displacement, that is x, is equal to amplitude, that is value of x will be equal to plus minus a. So in that particular case, the energy possessed by the particle will be only potential energy, there will be no kinetic energy. Now as the particle oscillates between the mean and extreme position, the energy keeps on changing between kinetic and potential. So at mean position, the energy is entirely kinetic, while when you talk about extreme position, the energy is entirely potential energy. Now when you talk about the intermediate positions, that is at other positions, the energy is partially kinetic and partially potential. Now even though this is true, the total energy of the particle is always conserved. So this is what the graphical presentation of the total energy of the particle. On y-axis we have plotted the energy, and this indicates the mean position, the extreme positions and the midways. Okay, so when we talk about the kinetic, when we talk about the energies in terms of kinetic as well as potential, then what we discussed, at mean position we have maximum kinetic energy and zero potential energy. So this graph, it indicates the kinetic energy of a particle, which is maximum, and when you talk about potential energy at mean position, it is 0. So these bell curves indicates the graphical presentation for kinetic as well as potential, and these points indicate the intermediate position of the particle, wherein particle is going to have both potential as well as kinetic energies. So we can say that the total energy of the particle performing simple harmonic motion is always conserved, it remains constant, and that energy is given by equation E is equal to 1 half m omega square a square, 1 half m omega square a square. Okay.